Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig.
It's late, so I want to move this along. So no singing from me.
We're not even gonna waste like 30 seconds on a song.
No.
No. It is late.
Yeah, we kind of lost track of the day. Now here we are. Late at night doing this podcast. So if we sound appropriately tired, well, that's why.
Yeah, it was. As we were talking about before we started recording, like this weekend for me is always. So this year I got a 5-day weekend. This year I got Wednesday off, then Thursday off, Friday. But it's like this weekend always between Thanksgiving and getting ready for Thanksgiving and Black Friday and the fucking Apple Cup and just like everything. It's like. By the time I get through Sunday, I'm like, where did my weekend go? And here we are. It's 10:30 on Sunday night, and I'm still just like, this is finally when we found time to podcast. So,
yeah, and not that like we really have time for it, but
no, we don't. We're making time.
But we're making time for Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me is the fully booked Jeff Nusser.
Yeah.
Jeff, so there was a football game on Friday.
I don't believe you.
But one thing I kind of wanted to start the podcast on a happier note before we, because the last podcast, the preview of said football game was pretty down. So I figured we'd start on a happier note.
Yeah.
And talk about the Cougs soccer team.
Hell yeah.
The story of the year so far.
Hell yeah.
Going down to South Carolina, taking on number 5 ranked South Carolina, number 2 seed in their bracket.
The Cougs.
And beating them in a thriller in overtime.
Yeah.
And advancing to the College Cup. That's the Final Four.
Yeah.
Which is something that a WSU team has never done in these expanded brackets, which is crazy and awesome. What a run. They were an unseeded team. It's not like in the NCAA where all the teams are seeded. NCAA basketball tournament where all the teams are seeded, so only like the top 16 teams are seeded in this. So WSU was unseeded. If you looked at the rankings, they were outside of the top 25. But so far they have taken down the number 15 team, the number 3 team on the road, who was previously like the number 1 team all year until a late loss, but and then the number 5 team on the road as well as West Virginia. So they've just an incredible run. These wins on the road, coming on the road. They played the first game at home, and then the next 3 wins have been in hostile territory. And it's a neutral site for the third one, but still was much closer. Closer.
There were definitely West Virginia fans there.
But that South Carolina to go in there. South Carolina's, it's a perennially strong program. They've been to a College Cup as recently as 2017. Like I said, they were ranked number 5, and WSU went in and they really they held the run of play. They were in charge for much of the match. They had the better chances. Man, I don't know about you, but I was getting worried towards the end. Like, this is just going to be a really frustrating loss because they had South Carolina's goalie made a hell of a save on a header. They had a couple times where they had people just free in front of the goal and just miss it in the first and second half. So, yeah, man, I don't know about you, but I was pretty worried headed into about 15 minutes left in the game.
Oh yeah, I was panicking. Like, I was like, I mean, we've seen this story, so many times this year. This is a really, for people who haven't like watched them or followed them, they are a really fun team. Like they have a ton of offensive firepower, led by, of course, Morgan Weaver, who is, maybe the most talented, maybe the best forward in the Pac-12. And then also, she's flanked by Elise Bennett. She's they've got a ton of offensive firepower, and there have been plenty of games this year where they dominated possession, dominated chances, dominated whatever, and just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. And as I was watching this game, I'm thinking, oh God, here we go again, because that's been the thing, leading up to that point, is that they've been finishing their chances. They beat Virginia, as we mentioned last week, a team that had only allowed 8 goals all year, scoring 3 goals against them, right? And then the West Virginia game was a little bit different, but it was like they had chances and were finally putting them in the back of the net. Well, then you had this game.
Well, West Virginia was more of, they had some half chances that they put in the back of the net.
Right.
They had some, against South Carolina, they had some full on legitimate should have been goal chances that didn't even get on. Didn't even get
Avery
on the frame.
Collins, the grad transfer from Stanford, has a wide. I don't know if it's wide open, but has a great chance, because she had a couple of really good chances and didn't finish either of them. And so you just kind of felt like, okay, well, is this it? Is this where, all that bad juju from earlier in the year comes back around? And, and then sure enough that it didn't. They, early in overtime had a corner fall to somebody's feet, and it's kind of nice. Yeah. She roofed it.
Yeah. We're talking about all the attacking talent on the team, but of course it was the center back.
Yeah.
Makia Minnis.
And she didn't panic, man. She just
man, she was right there, and a South Carolina defender headed it, a South Carolina defender headed it right onto her foot, and she calmly
standing at the far post and just smashed it into the roof, man, like a
because she had the defender guarding the post and the goalie right there, and she just hit it. She just made it unsavable. She just smashed it so hard.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. What a moment. The celebration is fantastic. She runs out to the center of the field and does the knee slide, and all her teammates pile on, and it's just a blast to watch. And
was it her first goal of the season? I didn't look that close.
That's a good question. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know. But that's it's wild to with all the attacking talent they have, to have the center back off her foot bury the winner, which is pretty cool, and pretty fitting for this run they've been on. Just a very unexpected run. This wasn't even supposed to be their best team, so it's just to go to the College Cup with 2 other Pac-12 teams, and then they're facing the greatest program in the history of the NCAA.
Yep.
So
that's your reward.
That's your reward. You get to play North Carolina, the biggest soccer powerhouse, women's soccer powerhouse, and the biggest women's soccer powerhouse of a country in the world. So, so that's what they have coming, man.
I feel like it's better to play that though than it is to play, Stanford
or UCLA.
UCLA, 2 teams that know them really, really well.
Right.
They've had, Cougs have had a little more success against UCLA recently, but Stanford has been, a real uphill battle. So, I like their chances a little bit better against a team that maybe doesn't know them as well. And maybe just in some way might, ever so slightly take them, just a little bit lightly.
So Stanford has only lost once this year. North Carolina has only lost once this year. But funny enough, Virginia and South Carolina had each only lost once the entire year.
Yep.
This team's not going to be intimidated by North Carolina or anything, So they're playing with house money right now, and I should say that Michael Preston on the later this week on the Cougs Center Hour is going to have an interview with Todd Schollenberger, the head coach, and from what Michael said, it sounds like it's going to be pretty fun. Listen,
I seriously can't wait to listen to that.
Yeah. So,
how cool is it, by the way, that he made time to do an interview with Michael this week?
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah,
that's so awesome.
The biggest week of his professional life.
For sure.
Right?
Right? And he makes time to go on a podcast. I mean, that's where, Michael always does before the season. He always does an interview with Schulenberger and with Jen Greeny, and we'll get to volleyball in a sec. But he does these interviews before the season, then it pays off at the end of the season. He gets a badass interview. Yeah,
and badass. Like, there's a WSU team. Like, it's really cool looking at that bracket, and it's just WSU. Like, is there with like these 3 soccer powerhouses, and it's WSU.
Yep.
And then it should have, it could have been 4 Pac-12 teams in the top 4.
Have.
But former WSU head coach, Kidane McAlpine?
Kidani.
His USC squad, which he has already won a national title with them, but
they blew it.
They blew it. They could have been all 4, but they're the ones that blew it. So maybe he just didn't want to play his former team, so he bowed out.
And by the way, I don't know if it's Makia Menace. Do we know how to pronounce the goal scorer's name?
I don't know.
Okay, but I can confirm it was her first goal of the year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a pretty good first goal.
Pretty good first goal to send your.
She's only had 2 shots on goal all season.
Yeah, well, she is a center back, so.
I know, but she's tall. She's 5'11". So you might figure that she might have I don't know, gotten her head on a corner or set piece or something.
It's probably what the 2 shots were.
Probably, but so her last shot on goal was September 28th against Oregon State.
Wow,
it's been a while.
And then she just buried it.
Yeah,
be ready for your opportunities.
She looked like a striker, man. I'm serious. Like that ball got on her foot, and she just and I'm not, I don't know about you, but I'm not completely familiar with all of the players. Like, I'm pretty familiar with the attacking players.
Yeah.
And so when she did it, I just sort of assumed that it had gotten on the feet of, one of the attacking players, and then. I saw who it was, and I was like, "Who?" And then, and then I was like, "Oh, she's a center back." Okay, and yeah, she looked great, and it was so awesome. Like, especially in the context of whatever happened earlier that afternoon, flipping over to that game, and kind of I still had the Apple Cup on the main screen.
I did too.
And had the soccer game on my laptop while that was going on.
That was my same setup.
Yeah, and then once the Apple Cup ended, I switched over and put that on my main screen, and it was funny. Sarah was upstairs with one of her friends, and her friend is not a sports fan, so she was a little bit baffled at my screaming and yelling, and I was getting progressively louder as the chances were coming and the game was getting later, but. I may have startled some people upstairs when that goal went in. So
definitely, it's
redeemed my day.
It's pretty funny. I had my Amanda's brother and his girlfriend, and then a friend of theirs, and they were I flipped over after the Apple Cup to the soccer game, which I had been watching on my laptop. Because I had like kind of jumped up a couple times while they were watching the Apple Cup. They're like, what? And I'm like, oh no, sorry, the wrong game. Well,
and we had like dual game commentary going on in Slack.
Oh yeah,
it was like, oh shit, and like nothing was happening in the football game, and it was like, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the soccer game.
Yeah, yeah. So they actually, once I flipped it, they were like into it. Like they were into it, and then unfortunately they had to leave to meet a friend, and because I don't think they had planned for watch it, but they were like, as they were walking out, like keeping their eye on the screen. It was pretty funny. So they were into it. They were all Cougs. Obviously, we're watching Apple Cup together. But yeah, so it was pretty fun. Yeah, that was it was a cool thing to watch. I'm glad I was able to watch it. Apparently, not everyone had the right service to watch it. It was like on SEC Network.
Yeah.
So I was bummed by that, but I'm glad I have whatever cable package I have, so that I was able to watch it.
Yeah.
But,
I had it through YouTube TV as well, which was nice.
I think this next one should just be standard, like if you have ESPN.
Okay, I'm looking.
ESPN 3.
I'm looking right now.
I couldn't find it earlier on there, but it does. They said watch ESPN on their official Twitter.
Yep. So that'd be my guess. It's probably just ESPN 3.
Yeah,
would be
which
my
means,
guess.
like,
which
if
would
you have
be
ESPN, then
if
you
you have
should be able to log
ESPN,
into
you'll
that.
be able to see it. So
But
that's my guess.
Friday at 4.
Yeah.
North Carolina with a trip to the championship game on the line.
North Carolina. I mean, and the game's in San Jose. It's not.
Yep.
It's not. They don't have to play. And I mean, I tweeted this out. Not to kind of go on too much of a digression here, but we watched the men's basketball tournament, and it's amazing when. I mean, the Cougars were the equivalent of like an 8 seed, a 9 seed. I mean, more or less, right? Like, you figure, okay, so they won their opener, and then they had to go play a 1 seed. So they're like an 8 seed, a 9 seed, something like that, more or less.
Yeah.
And they don't just beat the 1 seed. They beat the 1 seed at their field, right? And I don't know that home field advantage is, maybe as strong in say college soccer as it would be in, college basketball or whatever. But, but I mean, I'm trying to like imagine a team in the NCAA basketball tournament having to go on the road to beat the number 1 seed and having to go on the road to beat the number 2 seed. Right. Well,
sometimes you have to play the number 1 seed, like 2 hours from there.
Yeah, but
gym,
still, but not even in their gym though.
Yeah, right.
It's like, it's crazy. So anyway, I just, it's such a cool, it's such an incredibly cool accomplishment. Such an amazing, again, not just making it to the the Final Four, the College Cup, but to do it in the way that they did it, getting 1 home game and then having to travel, to the East, not like any place even remotely close, but like all the way to the East Coast, and then to have to travel to another East Coast location to play the number 2 seed for the right to go to the final. I mean, it's just really remarkable, incredible story. It just sort of blows my mind what this program is and has become. And it's just not, it's Washington State, right? Like you just go, how does a soccer power? I mean, I don't know that it's a powerhouse, but I mean, how does a really good soccer program, happen in Pullman? And not only that, but with, basically, 4 coaches over the course of a decade, and not because, they were all necessarily amazing and got promoted or something. It just was like, they all left for various reasons. They were all good, but, McAlpine got, so Matt Potter, right, gets hired away to Oklahoma after a pretty long, successful I can't remember how long he was here, but it was 7 or 8 years, I think. Right. Something like that. So he gets hired away to go to Oklahoma. Fine. Okay. McAlpine comes. He's here for, I think, 2 years.
Yeah, it wasn't
if I remember
long.
right.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 years. And then USC hires him away. And then they replace him with Steve Nugent, who has a pretty good, successful year. And then he resigns for personal reasons. Right. And it's like, shit, like you just feel like, oh my God. So
you're coming into your 3rd coach in the 3rd year.
Yeah, like this whole thing is just like hanging by like you feel like it must be hanging by a thread, and then it's not, right? Schulenberger shows up and, shores the thing up and, is probably the best coach of the bunch. And I mean, it's just, it's an incredible story. It really is. I sort of struggle to find the words to describe how incredible this is. And it's very cool. And it doesn't hurt that you and I are huge soccer fans, so it's like super fun to watch a soccer team be good
and the style they play.
And the style that they play, very attacking. Like they're pretty direct. So for people who don't watch a lot of soccer, that basically means kind of, they're constantly hitting longer balls, searching for people who are running. They are not afraid to attack, and
defensively, it's an attack. It's attacking defense. They press every pass.
Yep.
They challenge everything.
Yep.
They're always trying to win possession back. They take risks, whatever. So, but they still have just played so well. Now they had that grinder. They've had 2 grinders, the Memphis and I mean. The Virginia one was a grinder, but there was goals. But they've had those 2 where they just couldn't. They've had chances, and they finally got one through. Yeah. But yeah, now obviously it's honestly like they've already beaten a team as good as North Carolina, like on the way to play North Carolina. They haven't beaten Stanford this year, but I believe they played them to a tie earlier this season.
Last year.
Oh, was that last year?
Yeah, last year they played them to tie, but that was like the first. I can't remember, but that was like the first.
No, this year they lost 5-0.
Yeah, this year was bad.
Yeah,
but last year, if I remember right, last year they played to a tie, and that was like the first time. I don't know, the first like non-win for Stanford that year or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. So, if you've got the time on Friday night, go ahead and watch Cougs could make even more history.
Making the time.
Yeah, so I'm stoked for that. But yeah, man, we have other things to talk about, I guess.
I don't know. What else you want? You want to talk about volleyball?
Yeah, we'll get to volleyball. We'll just round out the happy news.
I mean, we got two good teams that were awesome this weekend. And,
well, it's funny. Yeah,
and we also have a football team.
Yeah, so it's funny. Last night I went out to dinner and some drinks with some friends, and we got back to our house and we were gonna hang out back at our house, and I had been checking the volleyball score on Twitter and stuff, and so I come in like running into the house, and like I'm like grabbing the remote, and Amanda tells friends like, oh, there's some sports thing on, like I know that look. Like, there's a sports thing happening right now, and he needs to get it on the TV as soon as possible. So that's what's happening. And our friends are Cougs, so I put it on. I think it was like 12-11 or whatever, WSU, like when I turned it on in the fifth set. Obviously, the fifth set goes. Okay. So WSU's playing UW last night, number 9 UW, who they've already beaten once this season. WSU is, they were pretty much on the bubble. They could have been in without the win, but they had lost some games in a row, some matches in a row. Yep. So it was not a gimme. It was not a gimme, especially if they went and got swept or whatever. Like, it would not looked good. But and they were 56 in RPI coming in, so you're like, have we done enough? I mean, they have a lot of wins in conference play and all that. But yeah, so they come in. It's fifth set. And they pull it out. I got my friends into the match. We're all excited. So it was really fun to it was fun to watch a WSU program beat UW and beat UW in a huge game.
And for the second time this year.
Yeah, third time in a row as well.
Fuck yeah, we did. Because there's only one program that can't seem to figure it out, but.
Yeah, so, and then on the backs of that win today, volleyball going to their 4th straight NCAA tournament.
Yep.
Heading out, they're playing San Diego, who is the champions of the West Coast Conference, and they're playing them in Hawaii. So Hawaii is the seeded team in their region, and so I think they're not super high seeded. I think they were the 12th seed. So. It's not. They didn't get stuck in the region of like the 4 seed or the 2 seed, like so. Right. So they get to go to Honolulu, so that's fun. Yeah. So they're going out to Honolulu, and they're also playing on Friday, and that's at 6:30 Pacific time. I'm sure it'll be streamed somewhere. Yeah. So another big match. So they're playing San Diego on Friday. At 6:30, so hopefully you can watch WSU soccer win and then watch WSU volleyball win as well.
Yeah, I don't know how many people know much about the volleyball team, but super young, like super duper young,
11 freshmen.
Yeah, and hearkening back to, so we were just talking about Michael doing interviews before the season. Well, he did one with Jen Greeny before the season, and she talked about how. One of the things they've really struggled with is sort of balancing the classes and having, ideally you would like to bring in, a handful of freshmen every year, right? But the way that, when they came in, they ended up with a real, freshman heavy class. Well, all those players went through, all 4 years, and there wasn't, like a lot of times with basketball, you might get a really, freshman heavy class, and half those freshmen might transfer. And so it ends up, balancing it out. Well, that's not happening. And so, they took this massive freshman class last year, and, lo and behold, they, continued, their success, which I think is, a mega testament to what Jen Greeny's doing with the assistance of, her husband, who's the top, her top assistant there, Burdette. And it's a super cool deal. It really is. Like, I mean, I think we've said this before, but it really is sort of this is the golden age of Cougar athletics. Like, with the exception of, men's basketball
and
baseball. But I mean, you just kind of feel like, okay,
I
so
guess
these
the
other
fall sports is the golden age, you could say.
But it's like, you just look at, you go, okay, volleyball is great. And, soccer's, incredible. And, football is the best it's ever been. And, tennis is doing things that it's never done before. And it's just, I mean, it really is out there. And this is kind of par for the course stuff for a lot of other schools. If you pay attention to non-revenue sports at other schools, it's like, oh, this is pretty normal to have, other good programs. But Wazoo is a school that has not traditionally had a lot of success with really any of its programs on any consistent basis. And I think it's a really cool deal that, there are all these different programs that are succeeding right now that we can take some pride in.
Yeah, and just like the soccer team, this is a remarkable story. They've won just as many conference matches as they did last season, after losing all of but one of their key players, essentially,
including one of the better programs or one of the better players in program history.
Right.
Graduated last year. So
so it's a very, very impressive run already, and they have a chance to, make some hay in Hawaii. So another thing to follow. Lots of happy stuff going on in Cougar Nation, right, Jeff? Nothing bad to talk about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
What are you referencing, Craig?
I don't know. Maybe let's take a break and try to. During that break, we'll try to figure out what to talk about for the rest of this podcast.
Okay. Okay, well, what else should we talk about?
I don't know, man.
Talk about beer. You want to talk about beer? Look at anything to not talk about that football game.
I've had a few today, all weekend.
I'm having my first, so.
What are you having?
I am having the appropriately named for this podcast about the Apple Cup, Tough Love from Crux. Part of their 2019 Banished series. It's a barrel-aged imperial stout, and just to rub a little salt in the wound, it's got purple on it. The wax was purple, and whatever. So, but I will say it is a really outstanding beer. The biggest thing I noticed right now. So this was bottled just about a month ago, which is like, super young for a barrel-aged beer. But the cherries are coming through. So it's got dried cherries as part of it. I also bought another bottle that I'm going to let age. So I'm curious to see as it ages. I'll bet the cherries kind of mellow out. And some of the coffee maybe starts to come forward on it as it ages. But anyway, yeah, really, really good right now. And I'm sure it'll be really, really good in a year. Yeah.
I'll say in my experience, the cherries will probably hang on longer than the coffee. But,
okay.
I've had a couple beers tonight. I just finished off a 2017 Rusty Nail, just pulling random shit out of the cellar.
Yeah.
From Fremont, and then we had 7 Seas and Tacoma and Gig Harbor released some barrel-aged stuff recently, so we drank their barrel-aged stout. It was pretty nice earlier as well. It's it's winter, it's cold.
Yep.
We like to dig into those stouts.
Yep.
And it's holiday weekend, so been doing that all weekend. So I've been drinking some good beer. We also yesterday with our friends had some of that the wine with the Cougar logo on it. The number 6. That was pretty tasty.
6.
So All right. So,
do we have to?
Yeah, we have to.
All right.
So we
I
lost
don't know,
another...
man. I mean, what the hell? Like, it was kind of like so Brian Anderson, right, got on Slack today after being out of he like went to a cabin for the weekend and didn't watch the game. And he was like, "Oh, so fun watching the same game for the 5th year in a row." And I'm like, "Yeah. That pretty much captures it, right?"
Yeah. I don't know if it was the exact same game. I haven't seen if Bill Connolly's been tweeting out his box scores yet, but given that WSU actually went up in SP Plus rating, I would think that there was a chance, because of our success rate in that game, that we were in position to win. Because really, that game came down to success in scoring opportunities and success in the red zone.
Yeah, that was the whole game.
Yeah, WSU was there. They had their chances. They had just as many chances as UW did.
Yeah, 5 trips in the red zone.
5 trips in the red zone. WSU gets 1 touchdown and 2 field goals out of those 5 trips.
And a turnover. Just fuck. Like, I can't even.
Well, and then the fifth one was the end of the game. So
right.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, man. I mean,
yeah, like they go in that first drive. You're like, don't do this to me. Like, they get that touchdown. So we've now scored a touchdown in the first quarter of the Apple Cup for the first time in 6 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So they do that, and you're like, okay, this is UW's giving them those 5 yards, and they were getting that. They have a number of drives that were over 50 yards. And you could also say field position played a hell of a part, because UW definitely had the field position advantage.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst performance of the kick coverage crew that WSU has had all season, which of course it happens in this game.
Of course it did.
So obviously the UW cash in touchdowns every time, or all but one. They touched 4 touchdowns and a field goal in all their scoring opportunities. So they're getting 31 points. We get 13 out of ours. That's the score of the game. WSU didn't give up a lot of big plays. The defense actually was probably one of their best performances of the season.
This was probably the best performance of the season.
And
like I don't think you can really argue with that.
What they could have done better is obviously tighten up in the red zone, and when UW they ran the ball really well close to the goal line, and
they held Washington to under 400 yards.
Yeah.
Right?
Well under.
I mean, yeah, like
340
or something,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, they got a couple turnovers or a turnover, right? I mean,
coming into the game, like if someone tells you that's what happens.
Yeah, if you gave them that stat line, right? If you said, okay, here's what the defense is going to do. What do you think? How do you think this game turns out? There might be some of us that would say, well, we always lose, so we're going to lose anyway. But, you'd probably think it's probably a pretty close game, right? Like that would be your inclination if you gave that stat line, And
it was, except for a roughly 10-minute span, like where, yeah.
And
which is what always happens.
Which were turnovers and whatever,
And obviously UW got the benefit of some drive extending calls, particularly on their second touchdown drive.
Yes, which was total bullshit.
Yeah,
and whatever. I mean, you're going to get some Pac-12 ref randomness, inserted into the game. I mean, it's coming. It's just a matter of is it going to come at a time when it's backbreaking and the defense isn't good enough to make 2 drive-ending plays.
Right.
They can make 1, but they're not going to make 2. And sure enough, they got screwed, and then they end up giving up a touchdown. So
yeah, and obviously you had mentioned this. Gordon was fine with the taking those short balls, taking them short over and over again. But when they had 1 3 and out, and then he got sacked a couple times. Like, it seems like it was really in his head, and it got harder and harder for him to basically take what UW was giving him. And then both of his one of his interceptions was essentially an arm punt, but
yep.
But his second one was definitely him just trying to make a play, and he had an open guy and just did a weird sidearm throw. And
it's I think that's honestly the most remarkable thing of the way Washington has defended us in this game is just how far that defense gets inside literally every quarterback's head, like to a man, right? And we've seen this with like 4 quarterbacks now, right? Like this is Peyton Bender, this is Luke Falk, this is Gardner Minshew, this is Anthony Gordon, and every last one of them, ends up seeing ghosts out there. I mean, how often have you seen Anthony Gordon be indecisive this year? Right.
Yeah.
And just hold on. And he has a tendency to hold on to the ball, but he doesn't hold on to the ball because he doesn't know what he's seeing. He holds on to the ball because his protection is good and he's waiting for a guy to come open and, whatever. Right. I mean, you can tell the difference between a guy holding onto the ball to wait for something to develop and a guy holding onto the ball because he's like a deer in the headlights, right? And for the first time this year, maybe against Utah, but just, for the first time in a long time and maybe just the second time all year. I mean, he's just standing back there and he's he doesn't even know where to go with the ball. And I'm not skilled enough at, X's and O's and dissecting defensive coverages and things like that. And I know we sort of poo-pooed it and went, especially like even after the first drive, right? We were kind of sort of like, okay, you don't have, 18 NFL players on defense anymore. So here we go. I kind of thought, okay, fine. Let's see what Jimmy Lake does when he doesn't have all those NFL players. Well, apparently they must be doing something. I don't know what it is, but they must be doing something that is just like completely confusing and causing our quarterbacks to like second guess everything they think they're seeing because they all look exactly the same when they drop back. And by the time they get to the third fucking quarter, they all look like they don't even know what is happening on the other side of the ball, that they just have no clue as to where any receiver is or where they should be or who might be open. And they just stand there until they finally get clobbered by one of the 3 rushers.
Well, yeah. And it's, UW runs to the ball carrier. You just don't see it in other games as well. Like when Max would catch a check down off to the side, normally you'd see him be able to, he'd be against 1 or maybe 2 guys and he could make someone miss and get some yards. But this UW would just be swarming like 4 or 5 guys. If you'd hit one of the mesh guys, the crossers over in the middle, they'd catch it, and they catch for 5, and that's what it was. It was 5 yards. Like, so they weren't getting many yards after the catch. Like Aesop Winston was completely shut down. You weren't getting much downfield at all. So that made it, when you got close to the end zone, suddenly you can't just dink and dunk it into the end zone. That becomes harder because there's just not space for that. And they struggled, and obviously, fumbling the ball, that didn't help.
No, that definitely did not help.
Yeah. Also, yeah, that was good. That fumble,
that the refs initially called down,
but it was not even.
It was not even close.
Like, that was wild.
Yeah.
Come on. So it was, I think the refs were having a rough game.
Oh my God. They always have a rough game.
But yeah.
By the way, do you realize we only gained 3 fewer yards in Washington?
Yes, I put it in the Slack, Jeff. Come on.
God damn it.
Only 3 fewer yards. That was definitely
turnovers and red zone.
Yep.
Train wreck.
Yeah, and one of the turnovers being in the red zone doesn't help. It was. Yeah, the red zone. Yeah, honestly, is the defense made so many more stops than you think they would.
Yeah,
you would have hoped,
especially in the second half.
They could have held it. Yeah, when it could have went out of control, but they repeatedly gave there was multiple times that the offense had the ball and could have got us within one score.
Well, even on the turnover, they gave the offense a short field.
They gave him a short field, and then it was interception, I think was that, or maybe that was the turnover on downs. I don't remember.
But either way, they were sort of in prime scoring position.
They put him in prime scoring position, and they didn't, that one, it felt like, okay, maybe something can change. And I think they got a couple first downs right away, and then I think it was an interception happened or something.
So, okay, so I have a question for you. So we have spent most of the year poo-pooing the people who, apparently I like to use that term this podcast, but yes, poo-pooing the people who, are clamoring for a better run game, clamoring for more handoffs to Max Borghi. This was the first game where I really felt like that's actually legitimate. Well,
especially in the red zone, I felt.
Yes. Like... And I'm starting to kind of come around to the idea. So I think back to the piece I wrote last year about the Apple Cup, where I just kind of said, this just really, really sucks. It's really unfortunate that Washington is both uniquely suited to shut us down and also our rival. And that's sort of like like a shitty combination, right? Where they are the best at the things that cause us the most trouble. And it's, if USC did that, we'd probably just be like, whatever, dude, USC is doing it and it's fine. Not that it's fine, but you know what I mean? Like we would just go, whatever, USC is beaten us, 7 years in a row, and okay, fine. That's what USC does. The only reason we sort of freak out about all this is because it's our rival, right? It's Washington. And, we freak out about it more just simply because of that. After watching this game, it's kind of causing me, and I'm trying not to overreact, but it's kind of causing me maybe to rethink some of what we do and some of how we do things, and seeing it as less of a thing that Washington does, and seeing it maybe as a little bit more of our deficiencies. And so when I see, for example, the red zone stuff, right? Like you have to be able to run the ball in the red zone. You have to. And it's one thing to throw the ball in the red zone against, Colorado or whatever, you know what I mean? We have shown we can throw the ball in the red zone against those teams. But, when you play Utah and you play Washington and you play Cal, you've got to be able to somehow move the ball in another way. You've got like they have to respect that you can run the ball, and we don't. And I, sometimes I start to wonder, like, if we're not sort of, I don't know. There are a lot of people who are like, we've hit our ceiling as to what Mike Leach can do, right? And I look at that and go, for a while I'd been thinking, no, like it's just whatever. It's unlucky. Washington's good. Chris Peterson's good. We're just, bad timing. It's just bad timing that he's not, coaching against Tyrone Willingham or whatever. But there's also a part of me now as I kind of go through it that I think, maybe we sort of have, I don't know if topped out's the right word, but just sort of like maxed out our potential to a certain degree in thinking that, okay, so when we need to run the ball, we sort of can't. And, if we're going to beat Washington, like, we have to be able to run 5-on-5. And we talked about this during the preview, right? And we thought this was the year we could run 5-on-5, and we still didn't really do it. And I wonder, maybe you've got some thoughts on this. I wonder if some of that is just, the limitation of our offensive line. We're recruiting light guys who we bulk up. We're recruiting guys who can pass block 75% of the time, which we should do because that's what we do. But, I think there might be an inherent deficiency there where they just really can't pass block well. And we're seeing it, with Andre Dillard, first round draft pick. You watch him with the Eagles and, he definitely struggles a bit, with run blocking. Right. So, I kind of wonder if it's maybe, we talk about the running game and we talk about, okay, when we've got favorable numbers, we can do it, et cetera, et cetera. And that's true against, the vast majority of teams. But when you play a Utah, when you play a Cal, when you play a Washington, are our offensive linemen physical enough and talented enough to run the ball with authority? And I don't think that, after kind of watching this game and watching how this year went down, I think honestly we're at a point where maybe we say, yeah, they're not able to do that. And part of that maybe has to do with how we recruit and how we develop. And I'm not saying it's bad or wrong or we should change it, but I'm also kind of wondering, like, if maybe really we are sort of at a point where, barring some sort of like mega special season or a season where maybe the rest of the Pac-12 is down, if maybe we haven't, if maybe there isn't a plateau based off of the kinds of guys we recruit. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Do you have thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, for one, like we've, last year we essentially hit the same level that Leach hit at Texas Tech. They were ranked a little higher at some point, but they got roughly the same amount of wins, and a big loss to a top team in the conference that kind of kept them out of a major bowl,
right?
And all that. So so it what you talk about with the air raid. A lot of it is predicated on the amount of reps that you do, and that you're just so good at, nothing's overly complicated in the system. It's just that you do the same reps so many times that the defense can't possibly guard it because they don't do the same reps in this. And so you do your job better. But the thing is, they're not doing those reps in the run game as much as they are in the passing game.
Right.
Like they're not, like you said, 75-25. Yeah, they should be repping the pass blocking more. But yeah, then when it comes to like, hey, we do need to run the ball, maybe the fact that they're not running is just because they don't believe that they can do it. Or maybe there's some hubris that they believe the pass will work. So I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely in this game, they got inside the 10 a couple times and they didn't run the ball, and you're just kind of like, let's maybe try it out.
And we didn't run it. We ran it very minimally in the first half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I caught you mid-drink.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I thought you were going to talk a little longer.
Yeah, sorry.
But
we did. I mean, like, we ran it very minimally in the first half. Second half, it seemed like we ran it a bit more.
It didn't work that well.
It didn't work that well, but I did feel like, and I don't know if this is, I mean, so much of this is anecdotal, right? Like, it felt like even though we were getting, only getting 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, like it still felt like, maybe that was creating some other space.
Well, because what you saw towards the end of, like, after a few drives is when UW started getting home with sacks, is because they were just like, screw it, we're pinning it back.
Yeah, they're like, we're not even going to try and defend the run.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to pass rush.
Yeah. So
with 3 guys.
3 or 4.
God damn it.
Yeah. So, and Gordon didn't handle the rush quite as well as we've seen him do. Wasn't his best game for sure. Wasn't a lot of the offensive's best game. Obviously, Arconato, of course, going out in the first quarter did not help.
No, that hurt.
Bell wasn't bad. Like, Bell made some plays, but at the same time, like, Arconato did, like, is just like,
he does some things that Bell can't do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's stronger, he's more physical. He can make not that Renard Bell can't make a catch in traffic, but Arconato is just a different kind of receiver.
Well, yeah, and he maybe if it's Arconato on one of the drives that ended in a field goal, on that quick basically stop route in the end zone, maybe Arconato catches that ball because he has before. And Bell is not as used to running it, wasn't ready for the timing as well. Let it hit him in the chest. He did get interfered.
Even though his arms were being pinned down. Thanks, refs.
Yeah, thanks. So I don't know. Like, it felt like that was the touchdown play that they had, and they were like, we don't know what to do now. That didn't work.
Yeah.
That always works.
Yeah.
I assume that was the play that they checked out of against Oregon State to run instead, But yeah, so they ran right when they got to the goal line in the first drive, but once they were in that sort of like 5 to 9 yard range, they didn't seem comfortable with running.
No, which was frustrating.
Yeah.
But I kind of like, again, maybe they feel the same way we do, that it's just like, that's not their bread and butter. That's not what they do best, and so let's keep doing what we do best. I don't know. It's frustrating, right? Like, you just think, okay, well, do this other thing. And we poked fun at it on the preview, the idea that they should make these wholesale changes or whatever before the game. But I mean, is there a kernel of truth in there? I mean, is it, should they maybe adjust? And, is Mike
it's not
Leach
like a wholesale
wrong to not maybe, attack in a different way?
Yeah. I think that's always going to be Leach's weakness is but it's also the strength of WSU.
Right.
So it's like, it's hard. The fact that we just run the same shit over and over and over again is the reason we're able to beat teams. Is what makes us
great, but is also what keeps us from, beating UW or whatever.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. Like, can they just adjust for that week? I don't know. Like, maybe he's just so stubborn. Like, it's over. And obviously, we have to talk about this, but he was obviously frustrated.
I was going to say that's a good time to talk about his apparent simmering feud with John Blanchette.
But before the John Blanchette, and which is another thing that people are hanging on to, before the Blanchette question, he was asked by, I can't remember who asked him this, but why do you keep losing to UW? And he kind of very sarcastically, I thought, said that well, you guys say that UW's getting these top 10 recruiting classes, so you tell me. So I don't do you hear that? Do you think that's a bit throwing the players under the bus, or do you think that's just like a sarcastic comment about recruiting? Or I don't know.
It's not the first time he's mentioned recruiting in the context of this game. I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. If I remember right, someone will probably correct me on that, but it's definitely not the first time he's mentioned the recruiting disparity, in this game. And I think there are kind of a couple ways you can take this, right? You can be like, okay, he's making excuses, which maybe he is, but another way to take it is he's just frustrated. He's super frustrated. He's tired of losing the game. He's tired of, fielding questions about it. And maybe he's also, a little bit tired of, losing these, recruiting battles, to Washington.
Well, yeah. So that's another part of it. Every fucking year, you see all these people who think they know everything come and say, and even some like players, like, you need to recruit Washington players because then they'll care about this game.
They'll understand.
But of course, Max Borghi said in his press conference that some of the guys care too much, like they get too amped up about the game. So what is it then? But at the same time, WSU does recruit every good player in the state of Washington.
Right.
They try to get every single good player. They offered Jacob Eason. They offered every good defensive player from the state of Washington.
Yep.
They offered them a scholarship, and they recruited them, and they offered them to visit, all of that stuff. And some of them did visit. Savay Smalls that just committed to UW, a 5-star, that this year had WSU
took an unofficial to WSU.
Had WSU. Yeah, he had WSU in his like top 10 for a long time, and UW wasn't even in it. And then UW put on the gas, and then he went to UW. And so this is what always happens.
It's been forever. Like every good player in Washington has gone to Washington.
Do you remember Bishop Sankey, who was committed to WSU for like years?
He was committed to Paul Wolf.
And then he went to UW because it's what happens is like WSU comes in early on the Washington kids, and they get him excited, and then when UW misses on some national kid, right? They go and okay, you can come play at us, and then they flip. Like it's like just saying that WSU does not recruit the best athletes in the state of Washington is you're just not paying attention to recruiting. No. Like it's just not the case. WSU is recruiting the kids. They're just not landing them. They go to UW.
They go to UW as they have forever. Like that has never changed. The best recruits in the state go to Washington. Like, I mean, who are the highest? I mean, I don't know. Just like kind of off the top of my head. I mean, like, is Drew Bledsoe the number one Washington recruit to go to WSU?
Probably.
Like, probably.
We didn't have like recruiting rankings back then.
Yeah, but he's from Walla Walla.
Right.
It's like, I mean, I don't know, how many kids, have been
and also Washington has just as many kids from California as WSU has.
It's just, it's whatever. Like, you could either they're too amped up or they're not amped up enough or whatever. But I mean, I can tell you, I know for a fact a number of California kids that really, 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 really want to beat Washington. And they just don't.
And then come on, like this is the program that has kept them out of the Rose Bowl for 3 years in a row. Like, do you not think that they wanted to beat this team?
They really want to beat them. I think it's a combination of all the things we've talked about. I like I said, I'm coming around to the idea that maybe we do have a ceiling under Leach, which is not, by the way, is not me saying, I want a coaching change. I don't. I want Leach to stick around. I want him to stay. I like the air raid. I want to keep doing this. This is fun to have a shitty season and have it be 6-6.
Well, yeah. And so if what you see after the Apple Cup is the Cougs fans that pay attention to like one game a year.
Yep.
And
I'm tired of losing to Washington.
But like what I'd say, like
let him walk.
Just like live and die with the rest of the season, and it's a lot more fun. Like like we hosted College Game Day last year. Like we won 11 games last year.
Yeah,
we lost 2. One of them was to Washington. Like the other 11 that we won, pretty fun. This year, not a great year, 6-6. So maybe a little more frustrating when you lose to UW at the end. But also the 2 previous games, like right before that. We're a blast.
Fun as hell.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like if you're mad, like you want to fire Leach,
it's insane
because he loses to UW. Please offer up a coach that is going to have that success.
Exactly.
In every other fucking game on the schedule. Yep. So and you can be mad about his post game comments. That's fine. Like he needs to do better about that.
He looked like a petulant child.
He definitely. And we'll get to the Blanchett part now. Yes, his comment about recruiting is stupid. He shouldn't do that because it's
super stupid.
It ties in your players, and then it's inevitably people take it as you're throwing your players under the bus, which you may be doing.
Well, and by the way, one of your pillars of your coaching philosophy is do your job. And it's like, well, isn't like 75% of your job recruiting?
Yeah, there you go, man.
Like that's your job is recruiting. So do your job. I just think he's really frustrated, and I get it. And everybody's frustrated, and they say stupid things at the end.
And then we learned that he very much loves John Blanchett.
Yeah.
Has no bone to pick with him whatsoever.
Yeah. I happen to be one of the people who actually kind of likes Blanchett. I think he's a good writer. I think sometimes he falls a little bit too in love with his own turn of phrase. But every longtime columnist that happened, it befalls the best. 100% true. I think he's honestly, I think he's generally pretty fair to Washington State. Now, I do think he doesn't miss an opportunity to take a shot. I think that's kind of
well. And if you're in Blanchett's position, let's see, as a columnist in Spokane, and what your whole career you've covered this WSU football program. As a journalist,
and this is going way back, decades.
You're supposed to be the check to the power right? So
right, because
it's
the beat writer can't ask these questions.
Right.
The beat writer can't say to Mike Leach,
because then the beat
hey,
writer will not get in the room ever again.
Right.
So,
I mean, yeah, he'll never get in the room ever again. So Theo can't say to Mike Leach, hey, how come you can't beat Washington? And, oh, their recruiting classes? Will you beat other programs with top 10 recruiting classes? What's the problem with Washington? Like, the
which
beat
is a
writer
very
can't
fair
say that.
question.
It's an incredibly
we
fair
have
question.
all like, how come we can beat USC? How come we beat Oregon? How come we can beat Stanford? How come we can beat every other the only school that we regularly beat in recruiting is Oregon State. That's the only school that we regularly beat in recruiting, and
we're
that's
pretty
only,
much
and we're pretty much
with,
at the same. Like
we're pretty much peers
it's
with
like
Colorado and Utah, and whatever. And it's like it's just, it's a completely fair question. And obviously, Mike Leach has felt a certain way about Blanchette for some time because that rant does not come out of nowhere.
Nope.
Right. So.
Yeah, it was. He's been fairly drugged around for that because it was just like, come on, it's a question. You're in a press conference. You're a highly paid football coach.
Yep.
Part of the reason you're paid so highly is because you're supposed to be able to do this shit. Like, so.
Well, and part of the reason why he got drugged so bad was because he did make reference to, I make a lot more money than you, so go back to your shitty little life. And that's usually not going to go over very well. Yeah.
Like, and, he's. It was very it was a frustrating thing to listen to, and then and what's most frustrating is that became the narrative about it, and like we just had this like shit of like on Twitter and whatever. It's just this like fucking like river of shit for like 2 days. It's like, God, that is honestly the best way I've heard it described. Like, it's just like, I don't want to read about that. Like, how Twitter now just pools, like, if you just decide to take a break from Twitter for, 12 hours, don't worry. When you get on Twitter, it's going to show you every fucking tweet you missed. All 12, like, for that whole 12 hours. Hey, you got to change it to, you got to change it from home to latest tweets. That's what you got to do. But sometimes it works out. Like, sometimes you're like, okay, cool. There was this fun thing, and I get to relive it. But. Not like, after the Apple but on Saturday it was just like, oh yeah, like I just know people that I like who are just like tweeting the like just it's like take a break. People are frustrated, man. I know, and I don't blame them. I get because it. Like, look, this is the game that all the fucking people you work with are just gonna give you shit all year round. It's unrelenting. Dude, I'm gonna walk into my classroom on Monday morning and guaranteed 3113 is gonna be sitting on my whiteboard. It's going to be, and it's probably going to be written in 13 other places in my classroom, but I don't know. I mean, like, but I say to them, I can't even get mad about it anymore. What I'm saying to them is like, just stop. Like, I've just like my personal self. I'm just like the Apple Cup as a fan. Like, I'm just over it. Like, I know what's going to happen. It's funny. I had one of my friends, like in a group chat with some guys that live nationally, guys I've met professionally. Like we all like have met through the same working in the same field and stuff. And, we've met at conferences and we've, hung out at different times. But one of them was like on Saturday morning, I was like, has anyone checked on Craig? And so I was just basically like, I was like, you know what, man? Like, I'm totally over that game. Like, it's like, I treat it like any other loss at this point. Like, the UCLA loss, it hurt a hell of a lot more than this one did. Yeah. And so did the Arizona State loss, and so did the Oregon loss. Like, but it's like, it's just, I'm just like, what I told them is like, we basically look at it as an 11-game season now. That one's an L. Like, when we did our probabilities at the start of the year, 0%. Both of us put 0% on that game. When we did it in the middle of the year, 0% on the game. 0%. But so it's like we viewed it. So I just try to enjoy the other 11 games because I know that one's gonna be shit. I sent a picture of me after the Oregon State comeback, just like looking like a wreck of a human with a huge smile on my face. Like, and like, this is why I looked like this after we beat Oregon State for bowl eligibility, because I knew there was no fucking way we're winning the next game. We have to win this game. And so, like, when you're sitting there in the stands and you're like at the Oregon State game and it looks like we're going to lose, you're like, well, shit, we blew the season.
Yep.
But
no bowl game, no nothing.
But we are going to a bowl game.
Yes, we are, motherfuckers. We're going to I mean, this is the trade-off you make, right? Like, I mean, if this is the trade-off, if the trade-off is lose the Apple Cup every damn year because we can't crack this, ridiculous code, and or go to a bowl game every year, right? Like,
but really,
Mike Leach, is a trade-off you make, right?
Mike Leach, win a fucking Apple Cup so we don't have to have this trade-off conversation every year.
Or even better, let's move the Apple Cup to week 1 or 3 or 5 or something.
How much better would that make everything?
Oh my God! Like, rather than ending every year with a just an embarrassing loss,
because like everyone,
right?
like if we play UW and then play Oregon State the next week and win,
right? And beat the hell out of them.
People can be over it. They can be.
Yeah.
But now it's always, in the bad years, you lose to UW, and then that's it.
I mean, look, you don't. There's no law that says you have to play your rival in the last week. There isn't. Cal and Stanford played, last week. Every other, sport on the planet, professional sport, you don't play your rivals. Look, the Premier League and soccer in England, like I watch that, like they don't play their rivals at the end of the season. Like it happens when it happens.
Usually the good teams play trash teams at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it doesn't have to happen this way. And I'm so fucking sick of ending the year and feeling like, great, like one of the nice things about this year with the bowl game that we end up in, it's going to be one of the earlier games. So like, that's going to be great.
Well, I mean, if it's the Vegas Bowl, it will.
Yeah, if it's a Vegas Bowl,
the Cactus Bowl is not till the 27th. So.
But still, it's it's not that bad. Anyway, it's like I maybe don't have to stew on it for quite as long, but one of the experiences that we get at Cougs Center is when we write and we have to pick a photo, right? Like they always show.
Oh, that's the fucking worst.
The most recent game. Like
oh my God, the snow ones last year.
Oh my God, for a month last year, like I'd open up a story, start writing, and then I'd go to the photos, and of course there's 25 photos of us getting our asses kicked in the snow.
It's always for the Apple Cup. It's way more than 25 too. The biggest picture sets that we have. Or for the Apple Cup.
Yeah.
And we just have to scroll on past them.
I know.
Because I refuse. I hate using a picture from any game that we lost usually.
I won't use that shit.
Yeah, like even like any game that we lost. So it's getting hard. It's harder this year. There's a lot more losses. Well, I'll say harder. The other side of that, my DVR, a lot more room this season.
That is true.
Haven't had to save as many games because I delete those losses as soon as they happen. Like I don't need that. I don't need
seriously,
that on my DVR.
Who do we have to petition to be like, let's move this game earlier in the year?
Let's play it in September, man.
Like who do we talk to? Like is this like do we start some sort of like online petition? Do we I'm 85% serious.
Well, I think it's funny like why does Fox want this in like basically like a prime spot, a single all by itself spot on Friday.
Yeah.
Like as the only game to watch with Tim Brando. And they know it's going to happen. It's just going to be a boring game.
Because all those Seattle people are going to tune in and they're going to be like, oh. But listen, you and I know how many of our fans tune in.
Oh, yeah. It's way more.
I mean, okay,
because we know how many people tune into our blog.
Because that's exactly it. We know, like, we have a reasonable proxy for ratings because we see our traffic, right? Like, okay, so podcast, like our, Apple Cup preview last week generated damn near 3,000 downloads.
Over 3,000.
Like, yeah, I mean, most weeks we're lucky to get 15. If we get like 1,500 or 1,800, we're feeling really good. Like to get 3,000 is like, I mean, that's like off the charts, and then we look at the traffic for everything else on the site. It's
anything
double.
that has Apple Cup in it.
Anything with Apple Cup in it is double what we normally do. So
including when a post from like April about or whenever the schedules were released, like about what day the Apple Cup is going to be on.
Yep.
Like you can start seeing it like 2 weeks before the Apple Cup. That starts popping up as one of the top pages.
Yeah. This is like some inside baseball stuff, but I swear to God, like people search for this stuff. They find our site. Like it's, yeah.
So WSU on Friday was the third most traffic site or Cougs Center was the third most traffic site on the SB Nation College Network. So above
normally we're like somewhere between like 20 and 30. And like that's pretty typical.
And in many years, even when we've had a Saturday Apple Cup when there's a lot of other games, we were the top blog like over and over again. Because people, I mean, obviously it's an easily searchable name. So it's like just Apple Cup versus like 2 team names. But like it's people go crazy for this game in the state of Washington. And we just get crazy amount of traffic. So I bet, a ton of people watch it. I bet it has great ratings in the state. And I wish once in a while we would show up.
That would be cool,
better.
Right?
Yeah.
To win it occasionally.
I don't know.
What would satisfy us? Like let's just kind of like do a little thought exercise. Like one out of every 3 years?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Do you think that would do it?
1 out of 3, because that's roughly what the historical,
the overall historical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The historical percentage. It's obviously getting worse and worse and worse, but it has historically been 1 out of 3 WSU.
Right.
I think 1 out of 2 would be nice. Like just to make it like. Did you look at that Wisconsin?
Like 2 out of 5?
2 out of 5 would be good.
Like 40%.
Win some in Pullman too. God. So I can feel good about going and watching it in Pullman. When it's super cold and whatever. But yeah. So I was looking at that Wisconsin Minnesota rivalry headed into this weekend's game, 60-60, and then some ties. And the overall score was like Minnesota by like 6 points or something, like all time.
That would be cool.
Now that's a fucking rivalry. Jesus.
That is a rivalry, right?
I
hate to break it to all of our fans who are like, "It's a rivalry. Anything can happen." I'm like, no.
Usually the other thing.
No, usually Washington wins. Like I don't know I don't know where your anything can happen stuff comes from, but no, like.
By the way. I tweeted this. Minnesota was ranked number 8 with 1 loss.
Yep.
They were playing their rival at home, and it was snowing. We knew what was going to happen in that game.
Exactly.
We saw this play out last year.
Sorry, PJ.
Yeah.
Should have rowed the boat harder.
Yeah, got to ride that boat.
Row that boat. Did you? By the way, did you see one? When Wisconsin won, so they play for an axe, right?
Yeah, you go steal
You go take the axe and then you row it.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. That was some high level trolling, right?
You set yourself up for that when you ride so hard into a silly
absolutely
silly tagline for your program that you even put on your helmets and everything.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, it's PJ Fleck is definitely committed to that brand.
Do you think
he'll be committed to that brand at his next job too?
What was it? Central or Western Michigan? Western Michigan. Western Michigan. Are they still rowing the boat? I don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
Because they had that on all their branding.
They did.
But yeah. What else?
Yeah.
Bowl game, man. So
I don't know. Bowl game's going to be great.
Vegas or Cactus, it looks like.
Yeah. Cheez-It? Isn't that what it's called now? The Cheez-It Bowl?
Yep. Cheez-It Bowl.
And that's in Tempe, right?
No, it's in Phoenix.
No, Phoenix. Yeah, it's at this is the one at the baseball stadium, right?
Yep, it's at Chase Field, yeah.
Oh my God. Dude, so I've actually been to that stadium.
For football?
For a Diamondbacks game.
Oh, okay.
And I was down there visiting a friend. This is like 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. It was a long time ago. My buddy Brady went to a game there, and you've obviously seen it on TV, right? They've got the swimming pool out in center field, right? All that. Okay.
Right.
So it looks like a pretty okay stadium on TV. At least that was the impression for me. I don't know if it is for you. it's kind of a dump. like it is not a nice place to watch a game. It reminded me, okay, so this is going to sound kind of crazy. It reminded me of the Kingdome, because it is a lot of concrete and it is a big box.
It was built around the same time Safeco was.
I know, and it's terrible. Like, it's a giant box, and it is there's no charm to it whatsoever, even though it seems like there is, because you're like, oh, look, they have a pool, right? Like the stuff you see on TV is just like a very small thing. It's not like the whole thing doesn't feel that way. The rest of it feels like a giant concrete box. And so if you ever watch it on TV and you wonder, like, okay, well, why aren't there more people there? That's why. Like, it's not a charming place at all. But, as our friend Kyle Sherwood says, you can go to Phoenix and visit Tempe and, go to Mill Ave and enjoy yourself. And Phoenix is a nice place to get to. So, it could be worse. We're not going to the Sun Bowl, and not that the Sun Bowl is bad for the players, but it's definitely not good for fans. And so going to Vegas or Phoenix, either one of those is definitely a step up. So.
I think particularly if there's 7 bowl slots for the Pac-12. WSU is 7th in line. Technically, they could be because they only have one less conference win than anyone else except the top 3 teams. They could be reached down by the Red Box Bowl or the Holiday Bowl, but
right.
that's not going to happen.
Happening.
So so basically, if and once you get past that, once you get to the Sun Bowl, they have to pick based on the order.
Yep.
So WSU is solidly the 7th team because they're the only 3 and 6 team. Because both the other 3 win teams won on Saturday. So
yep.
So basically if there's 2 Pac-12 teams in the New Year's 6, meaning maybe if Utah gets to the or to the college playoff, and then that slots Oregon in the Rose Bowl, then it moves the slots up. So the last slot would be the Vegas Bowl at the 6th slot. So WSU would go to that.
That's what we all want.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real.
I mean,
that's what everybody wants.
Technically, I'm sure they could make some back deal, and Preston mentioned this. Like maybe they get Arizona State to play in the Cactus.
Yeah. So
the
Wilner
Bowl
mentioned
instead.
this. Like you can, as long as the bowls agree to swap, then they can swap.
Which they might want to do, but Arizona State might not want to.
I can't recall that happening anytime in the recent past.
But here's the thing. Like I know, so there's a good chance. Well, okay, so if Memphis wins the American Championship over Cincinnati, who they just beat, then they'll stay ahead of Boise State, and then they'll get the NY6.
Right, because the number one Group of 5 team goes to the New Year's 6.
And so, but if Cincinnati wins, there's a chance that Boise State is then the number 1 team, and they get the Group of 6. So in that case, it'd probably be Hawaii you'd play. But there's a good chance that they play Boise State, and I know a lot of Cougs fans don't really want to do that because we play Boise State a lot because you're kind of afraid of Boise State, I guess.
Let's play Boise State.
I know, because they're going to be
ranked. I'm okay with this.
I mean, they're going to be ranked. I think it's
fine.
Fuck
yeah.
Like,
I ain't scared of Boise.
Also, so if you go to – so I kind of looked at what the Big Ten is, the team that you play in the Cheez-It Bowl. It looks like it's probably going to be Indiana. So
I don't know, man. The only thing that worries me about that is for Kyle Sherwood's health.
Well, he only cares about the basketball team. He doesn't care about the football.
That's true.
So Indiana, it's funny. I know Boise State sounds big and bad and scary or whatever.
Bring it.
But Boise State in the most recent SP Plus rankings is 33rd. With the 53rd best defense and the 30th best offense. WSU is 25th. And then Indiana is actually 24th.
Indiana's having a hell of a season.
Yeah. So they're only 8-4, and Boise State's 11-1. But as we all know, Boise State does not play in the Big Ten. So,
but seriously, though, like, how great would it be? Okay, so you play Boise State. And, okay, if you lose, it's like, okay, that's a 12-win, Boise State team. or whatever, you go, well, Boise State, of course, beat the 7th place team in the Pac-12 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if you win it, this is like the opposite of playing a mid-major team during the non-conference schedule, right? Like where during the non-conference schedule you go, okay, so the Power 5 team has everything to lose. This is the opposite of that, isn't it? Where it's like Boise State's the team with everything to lose.
Like they're 11-1, so they'd be 12-1.
Like they should win, right?
Yeah.
They're the ranked team. They're the team with 11 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
say bring it, dude. Let's go beat Boise State, dude.
If somehow
that would be delicious.
If somehow Hawaii ended up in that game, it'd be a pretty fun game.
That would be super fun. Oh my god.
Hawaii's 115th ranked SP plus defense.
Yeah, that would be like that game would be like in the both teams would be in the. I don't know what the over or under would be, but it would not be high enough. Like that, it just would not be high enough. Like that, the over under would have to be set at like 95 for me to even think like the under would be a possibility.
Yep.
So
I mean, hell, the freaking Iron Bowl was 93 points.
How about that, by the way? Like so Nick Saban being like, that was unfair.
Oh my god!
Because they put their punter at
they tricked us.
They tricked us. It's so great. Inject that shit into my veins, dude.
I know.
I'm serious, man. Like, I want to get high off that.
Yeah,
just give it to me, all of it. Nick Saban being like, this is the same guy who was like, do we really want football to be a continuous sport? And by the way,
who's running tempo offenses now?
Listen, I think Nick Saban is, one of the, top, 3-5, college coaches of all time. Like I'm not bagging on him as a coach. Like he is an amazing coach. If you've never, by the way, anybody who's, obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you listen to podcasts, the James Miller, origin stuff, he did an Alabama origins thing. It was great. Listen to that over the summer. It's awesome. If you've never listened to that, I really recommend it. Nick Saban's incredible. Like I'm not downgrading him at all, but watching him be outfoxed by his rival, right, is just like it's just too rich.
When using his attention to detail against him.
Totally. Because Alabama, oh my god, Alabama, like they attention to detail, they never fuck up, they never whatever. Like no, they fuck up just like everybody else. Like everybody's like, Mike Leach really mismanages.
Someone forgot to tell the punter the punt returner to get off the field.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Mike Leach mismanages, whatever, and it's like, no, everybody struggles.
Well, yeah, if you watch every game, like the timeouts are just a disaster.
I think the people who complain about Mike Leach, whatever his timeouts, his clock man, whatever it is that they complain,
which we have done on this podcast,
which we have done. But it's like, those people, I think in general, do not watch a lot of just college football because like everybody struggles with this. Everybody has problems with this. When you're dealing with players on teams that are, 22, 23 years old and younger, like, and you can only practice for so many hours a week and they've got classes to go do, whatever, like you're going to have, this stuff's going to happen. And it happened to Alabama, which is just lovely.
Which is great for Utah, obviously.
It is great for Utah.
I do worry that...
Which is great for us by extension. So.
Yeah, but I do, especially when I go to Vegas, I do worry that the Big 12 champion, either Baylor or Oklahoma or Baylor, could jump Utah by virtue of their win over the other team. Or... because Oregon is only going to be ranked whatever, and
Oregon really fucked up by losing to Arizona State.
Yeah, well, I mean they know that more than anyone.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it was funny. I watched the Whittingham in the locker room afterwards. He was like, number 1, back-to-back Pac-12 South champs. Yeah. Number 2, seniors or whatever. And then number 3, Alabama lost today. It was so funny.
The thing, this is what's so weird about all of this. Okay. So number one, are we in agreement that the playoff really should be 6 or 8 teams?
Yeah, I think if you,
let's start there.
I mean, obviously there's the argument that some of these semifinal games have been like not good, and so maybe there is like just a couple really good teams every year, but I think what's happening now is we're seeing we've already established the conferences that everyone believes to be the best, and they're kind of getting the benefit of the doubt every year when it comes to the rankings. So like we had 3 SEC teams in the top 5, and you kind of have to root for them to lose and all this stuff. So I don't know, like maybe.
But I wrote about this last year, right?
Yeah.
It comes down to where you were ranked preseason,
right?
Which is so incredibly stupid. And it's like, oh, well, look, Georgia has this many quality wins, even though they lost to South Carolina. And it's like, well, you know why they have quality wins? Because those teams started the year ranked in the top 25. Like, that's why. And it's like, okay, so you look at the SEC and, well, they've only got, they've beaten this team or that team. It's like, well, these teams are pumping up their wins. They're pumping up their records against teams like, Vanderbilt and freaking Missouri. And I mean, it's like those teams are not good. And yet, they're winning. And so they're, and they only play 8 conference games, and they play one of their non-conference games late in the season, gaming the system against the top 25. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's sort of silly. And, if there's going to be these sorts of inequities in terms of scheduling and the other things, I really think going to 6 or 8 teams is really the only sort of logical solution. I do think 6 makes a lot of sense in the sense that does give number 1 and number 2, who are teams that people have, basically decided are really superior anyway. It does give them, you would have a bye. They don't have to, face a team in the first round, whatever. I'm fine with 8 also. I've sort of advocated for 8. You figure, okay, so if, conference champs get in, the number 1 team is going to play the weakest of those. So, so maybe, last year with, the Pac-12 champ, Washington, right, getting in there, they were pretty weak last year. Okay, so, the number 1 team, I think number 1 last year was Clemson, right?
Right. Yep.
Clemson's going to play Washington. Okay, they're going to destroy Washington. So they play a pretty weak team. So whatever it is, I think the fact that we're trying to decide, okay, is Utah better than Oklahoma or better than Georgia or whatever, or Alabama? It's like, I don't like the fact that they're trying to decide that based off of, quality wins, which is really what it's going to come down to, when quality wins are really almost entirely decided on who we thought were going to be good before the season started.
Well, yeah, and you look at if there's other measurements, like say like the SP Plus measurement, like Utah,
which of course the committee does not look at.
Yeah, I mean they might a little bit. I don't know, but
I doubt it.
but
I
like
highly doubt it.
But Utah beat WSU, who does not look good by the committee, but like WSU is 25th in that.
Right.
And they're like teams like, sometimes it lines up, like USC is 22 and they're pretty much the same. Oregon looks way worse in SP Plus but they'll probably end up around the same spot after they lose to Utah. They're in 19 right now on SP Plus, and they probably won't move that much because SP Plus doesn't factor in wins or losses at all. But like Utah is not going to get much credit for winning at Washington. And Washington is the number 16 team in SP Plus,
right?
And so that was a tough win.
Yeah,
but they're not
because they're 7-5.
But because they're 7-5, it doesn't look that good because they went and lost to Colorado, and
right. But that's the magic of the SEC, right? Where it's like, okay, so your wins look really, really good because you beat, some team that's 8-4 or 9-3. But you've got these, shitty teams at the bottom. Of course, the Pac-12 gets like they get shit on because they've got a whole bunch of teams that are 6-6, 7-5.
Right.
or
and
5
so
and
none
7,
of the wins look good.
right?
None of the wins
look good. They'd be better off having Oregon State be terrible and Arizona be not just bad, but like worse than bad, or you like they'd be better off having all of these, like the bottom of the conference being horrible, and then the top of the conference beating up on those teams. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me that's sort of how we do things. But of course, that is how college football does things, and so you get the situation we got now, and the situation we got, screwed by last year when it came to the New Year's Six. And
well, yeah, another thing that screws the Pac-12 is that they only have one locked-in bowl tie-in for the New Year's Six, and right. a lot of the other big conferences have like Big 12, SEC, Big 10 have multiple, and so that's why if the Utah does not win, you would think they'd be a prime at 11-2, would be a prime New Year's Six. But if you look at it, there's not a lot of slots because the loser of the Big 12 game is going to the Sugar Bowl. The only slot is the Cotton Bowl. Like, there's a potential for the Cotton Bowl, and that's the only one where they could. But then they would have to be picked for the Cotton Bowl over Alabama.
Well, and it all comes down to the ranking.
Yeah,
right.
And it does.
Like, it's not a situation where.
So Utah would have
the
to.
Cotton Bowl goes, oh, we like Utah more than we like Alabama. So it's if Alabama is ranked ahead of them in the college football playoff, which seems
they probably
very
will
likely,
be. Yeah,
right? Then Alabama gets picked.
That's why they really only. I'm thinking like I was looking at today, and I see it's a long shot that if Oregon beats Utah, that they'll still be in the New Year's Six. As dumb as that is, unlikely. Because as good as Utah is, they end up in the Alamo Bowl. It's going to be kind of dumb, but they're going to crush whatever Big 12 team they play in the Alamo Bowl if that ends up being. But I think they'll beat Oregon, and hopefully that earns them a spot in the playoff because I'd love to see that defense go against Ohio State. I think that'd be a fun. I think it'd be a fun game. I'd like to see Tyler Huntley play against Ohio State's defense. Like, I think that'd be a fun.
Yep.
That'd be a fun matchup. But hopefully, Oklahoma, whatever, that might be fun too. But I don't know. Let's see some new blood in there. But I am worried that the college football playoff is going to do their circular logic, where they're like, well, they beat this team that we ranked this position, so it must be good. Like, they. Because,
all Utah has done is beat the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, except USC, who is
but that was loaded, like in week 5 or whatever it was. Like, that was also, forever ago.
It's USC who is loaded talent wise as like anyone in the country,
and is also a top. They're going to be a top 20 team, right? This week.
Yeah,
I mean that's not a bad team. Like, that's a good team. It's frustrating, and the only way, the longer this goes on, the more I believe the only way to solve it is to have more teams in the playoff. And I've sort of felt from the very beginning that 8 was probably the best number. You take the Power 5 conference champs, take the number 1 group of 5 team, and then you take 2 at-larges. Call it good.
Yep.
And that seems, that gives every team in the Power 5 a chance to get in, right? And then that also includes a group of 5. And then it also makes sure that you've got 2 at-larges for, whatever your SEC fetish. And you can include, Georgia or whoever, or, whatever team is, or Alabama, right? Whatever team is not in, doesn't play its way in that you think is really good, can get in and do its thing. And I think that makes the most sense. I really do. And, I know there are some people that think, oh, well, top 4 because the top 2 always win or whatever. And, okay, fine. I kind of understand that, but as long as we're going to have 4, if you're sitting there going, does, Utah belong in? Does Alabama belong in? Does Oklahoma or Baylor belong in? Right. I mean, let's assume Utah wins, and then obviously either Oklahoma or Baylor is going to win their championship game. Okay, fine. Like, one of those teams is going to get left out. Right? You know, it's either going to be Utah or Oklahoma/Baylor or Alabama. I tend to think that Alabama's going to get left out if Utah wins and, you know, whoever wins the Big 12. I think it's going to come down to either Utah or Oklahoma/Baylor. Okay, fine. But one of those teams is going to get left out. And how do you decide, right? Like, okay, well, they would say, oh, well, Oklahoma has more. Let's say Oklahoma beats Baylor. Okay, Oklahoma has more quality wins. Well,
2 wins over Baylor.
Right. I mean, it's 2 wins over Baylor. You know, do you look at, you know, Utah and say, well, you know, they get penalized for playing in a conference where there's a lot of parity, and also, you know, do you take away the fact that they've just beat the hell out of everyone? Right? Like they haven't played a game that was close since the game against Washington, and Washington only looks that close because Washington scored a touchdown late.
Yep.
Like, that game wasn't close, right? So Utah has just basically beat the hell out of everyone since that USC game. You know, and their offense isn't
before the USC.
Right. Like, so their offense isn't a 50-point a game offense, like, but their defense can, I think, stand up to anyone's. So, you know, why not take that anyway? You know, why not take that into account? And if we're really arguing between Oklahoma/Baylor and Utah, then really the system is messed up. And, you know, the teams, I'm not in favor of a 16 or 32 team or whatever FCS type deal is going on. I'm not in favor of that at all. But I am in favor of eliminating these ideas that, okay, we've got to decide between, you know, Oklahoma/Baylor and Utah. Like, one of those teams is going to get left out. You know, and I'm not opposed to the idea that Alabama belongs in there too. Okay, fine. But, you know, like, we need to create a situation where each of these teams has a spot. And I'm not about having, you know, a million teams, but, you know, if we're saying we can make the distinction between Alabama and Utah and Oklahoma/Baylor, I don't think you can. And I think it's stupid to think that you can somehow, in some sort of like intellectually honest way, make it a distinction between those teams. It just doesn't make any sense. And that's where, you know, perhaps it needs to change a little bit.
Yes. So it is after midnight now. we were we're
gonna keep this to an hour.
Oh man.
We can't. We like talking about this stuff too much.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, but I think
especially when I've had an 11.5% beer at the end of the night.
There you go. So I think that on that note, as we know, Jeff wants a 64 team FBS tournament.
Yeah, let everyone in. WSU should get their shot.
128.
We want
team.
Bama. Let's go. We want Bama.
We want Bama. But yeah, so I think that's a good place to wrap this thing up.
As good a place as any.
Watch soccer on Friday. Watch volleyball
Hell
on Friday.
Yeah. Let's go.
Go Vegas
fucking
Bowl.
Beat those Tar Heels.
Root for that. Root for the Vegas Bowl. Root for probably Baylor to win. Root for Utah to win.
Yes. Baylor win would be good.
Utah
win
would be
by 2 or more touchdowns would be good.
Yep. If you want that Vegas Bowl. Otherwise,
we all want that Vegas Bowl.
We're going bowling anyway, so that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
I remember many a season when we did not do that.
Isn't this great? Like really?
Yeah.
Like, this is really good. I mean, come on.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so like, subscribe, whatever. Rate 5 stars.
5 stars.
Do it.
Do it.
And go Cougs.
Go Cougs, Craig.